Hi, I'm Kalia. You know that saying about how a mother's love is unconditional? Well, let me tell you, my patience sure isn't. I spent 26 years raising my son Devin, working double shifts as a nurse to put him through college, and even letting him move back into my house rent-free when he graduated, but couldn't find the right opportunity. Mom, I need to focus on my career right now, Devin told me over dinner one night, fork hovering over the lasagna I'd spent 2 hours making. I can't waste time on entry-level jobs that won't advance my goals. I understand wanting to find the right fit, I replied, refilling his water glass. But it's been 8 months since graduation. You don't get how competitive the market is, he said, rolling his eyes. Not everyone can settle for just any job like you did. My friend Marissa noticed the change in him first. We were having coffee in my kitchen when Devin stormed in, ignored our greetings, and raided the refrigerator. Hey, Devin, how's the job hunt going? Marissa asked pleasantly. Don't start with me, he muttered, piling leftover chicken onto a plate. I had 3 interviews this week. That's great, I said. Any promising leads? They were all beneath me, he said, microwaving my food. One wanted me to work weekends. Like, seriously? After he left with my food without so much as a thank you, Marissa leaned forward. Kalia, how long has he been talking to you like that? Like what? I asked, stirring my coffee. Like you're his personal servant instead of his mother. He's just frustrated with the job market, I defended, but even I could hear the weakness in my voice. When was the last time he contributed to household expenses? She pressed. Or even thanked you for anything? Before I could answer, we heard a commotion. Devin had returned with his girlfriend, Teresa. Your mom is so sweet to let you stay here, Teresa said, smiling at me. Devin snorted. It's the least she could do. This house would be falling apart without me fixing things. What have you fixed exactly? I asked, genuinely curious. I changed a light bulb last month, he said, like he'd renovated the entire house. And I'm the tech support around here. Remember when you couldn't figure out Netflix? Teresa laughed. You're too much, Devin. Besides, he continued, emboldened by her approval, she's got nothing better to do with all this space. The conversation might have ended there if my brother Jack hadn't chosen that moment to drop by. He caught the tail end of Devin's comment as he walked in. Hey, sis, Jack called, then nodded at Devin. What's up, nephew? Just explaining to Teresa how Mom's actually getting the better deal with me staying here, Devin said. Free maintenance, tech support, security. And what exactly are you getting? Jack asked, his tone casual but his eyes sharp. A place to crash while I find the right career fit, Devin shrugged. It works out for everyone. That's when it happened. As I set a fresh plate of food I'd made for Teresa on the table, Devin reached over, took a large bite, and with his mouth still full, declared, Mother is just a freeloader. Living off my dad's life insurance all these years. Never had a real career. The room went silent. My hands trembled as I set down the serving spoon. What did you just say? Jack asked, his voice dangerously quiet. Well, it's true, Devin continued, oblivious to the tension. Dad left her set for life, and what has she done with it? Nothing. At least I have ambition. That's when Jack told him something that changed everything. Your father didn't leave any life insurance, Devin. He left debts. Your mother paid them all off while raising you alone. She's worked every day since you were born. That's not true, Devin insisted the next morning when I confronted him about his outburst. Dad had that big policy from his job. You told me. I told you what a child needed to hear, I said, sitting across from him at the kitchen table. Your father had gambling debts I didn't know about until after he died. The insurance barely covered the funeral. But this house? I bought this house 5 years after your father passed, I explained. I worked 60-hour weeks while you were in after-school programs. I took night classes to become a nurse practitioner for the better salary. Devin's face flushed. Well, you should have told me the truth. So you wouldn't call me a freeloader in front of your girlfriend? I asked. Would that have made a difference? He pushed away from the table. You're blowing this way out of proportion. After he left, I called Jack, who came right over with a folder of documents. "I pulled together some things you might need," he said, spreading papers across my dining room table. "Deed to the house, mortgage statements, your name only. Tax returns showing you as head of household all these years." "What am I supposed to do with all this?" I asked, overwhelmed. "Whatever you need to," Jack replied. "But no one calls my sister a freeloader in her own house." That afternoon, I met with my friend Omar, who happened to be a real estate attorney. "So, let me get this straight," Omar said, reviewing the documents in his office. "Devin has been living in your home rent-free for almost a year, contributes nothing to expenses, and now he's claiming you're the freeloader?" "That about sums it up," I nodded. "And you want to know your options?" "I want to know what's legal and what's right," I clarified. "I don't want to throw my son onto the street, but I can't keep enabling this behavior." Omar leaned back in his chair. "You have several options, all completely legal. First, you could draw up a formal rental agreement." "He has no income," I pointed out. "Then he has no legal standing to remain in your home without your consent," Omar explained. "You could also transfer certain utilities into his name to teach responsibility." As we discussed strategies, Marissa texted asking to meet for coffee. I found her already waiting at our usual cafe. "I ran into Teresa at the grocery store," Marissa said before I'd even sat down. "You won't believe what she told me." "Try me," I said, ordering my usual latte. "Devin told her he's planning to convince you to sign the house over to him," Marissa revealed. "He said it's basically his inheritance anyway, and you're just occupying it until he needs it." My hand froze midway to my mouth. "He said what?" "Teresa thought it was weird, which is why she mentioned it," Marissa continued. "She also said he's been telling friends that he's managing the family estate while you figure out retirement." "I'm 48 years old," I exclaimed. "Retirement is decades away." "There's more," Marissa hesitated. "He's been bringing people over when you're at work, telling them it's his house, and you're just staying with him temporarily." Just then, my phone buzzed with a call from my neighbor, Mrs. Chen. "Kalia, I just wanted to check if you're okay with all those people at your house," she said. "There must be a dozen cars parked on the street." I thanked her and hung up, looking at Marissa in disbelief. Apparently, my son is throwing a party in my house while I'm supposedly at work. "But it's Saturday," Marissa frowned. "You don't work Saturdays." "Exactly," I said, already gathering my purse. "Let's go." The scene at my house was worse than I imagined. Music blared from speakers I didn't recognize, and unfamiliar faces filled my living room, kitchen, and backyard. Devin stood in the center of it all, playing host with Teresa by his side. I cut the music first. "Hey, who killed the—" Devin turned, his face dropping when he saw me. "Mom! You're supposed to be at work." "In my own house? On my day off?" I asked, voice carrying across the suddenly silent room. "Everyone who doesn't live here needs to leave. Now." As people awkwardly filtered out, Devin approached me, anger evident on his face. "You completely embarrassed me. These are important networking contacts." "Networking?" I repeated. "In my house without my permission while telling people it's yours?" "It basically is mine," he shot back. "You're just being selfish, not recognizing that." Teresa stepped forward. "Devin, maybe we should go—" "No, Teresa, stay," I said calmly. "I'd like you to hear this too." Jack arrived just then, having driven separately from the cafe. He stood silently by the door, arms crossed. "Devin, I've allowed you to live here rent-free while you find your footing," I began. "I've covered all your expenses, cooked your meals, done your laundry, and in return, you've called me a freeloader and lied about who owns this home." "I'm not finished," I interrupted. "For years, I've supported you emotionally, financially, and physically. I worked multiple jobs to put you through college without student loans. I delayed my own goals to ensure you had every opportunity. But that's what mothers are supposed to do," he argued. "No, that's what I chose to do," I corrected. "And this is what I'm choosing now. You have 30 days to find alternative living arrangements." His face contorted with shock. "You're kicking me out?" Your own son? I'm requiring my adult son to take responsibility for himself, I clarified. You have two options. Start paying market rate rent plus utilities, or find your own place. This is ridiculous, Devin shouted. I'll contest this. I have tenant rights. Actually, Jack interjected, Omar drew up the proper legal notice. As Kalia's lawyer, I'm officially serving you. He handed Devin an envelope. You can't be serious. Devin turned to Teresa for support. Tell her this is crazy. Teresa shifted uncomfortably. Devin, it's her house. And honestly, you've been pretty disrespectful. Whose side are you on? He demanded. The side of basic decency, she replied, stepping away from him. Devin's face darkened. Fine, I don't need this place anyway. I'll be out tomorrow and you'll regret treating me this way. Are you threatening me? I asked quietly. I'm promising you, he snarled, knocking a vase off the side table. You think you can just throw away your own son? I'll make sure everyone knows what kind of mother you really are. As the vase shattered, Jack stepped forward. That's enough, Devin. One more threat or act of destruction, and we'll be calling the police. Go ahead, Devin shouted, grabbing his keys. Call them! See if I care! He stormed toward the door, turning back with one final shot. You'll be begging me to come back when you realize how pathetic your life is without me in it. The door slammed behind him, leaving Teresa, Jack, and me in stunned silence. Teresa spoke first. Miss Kalia, I'm so sorry. I had no idea he was like this with you. 3 weeks later, I sat in a courtroom beside Omar, listening as the judge reviewed our case. Miss Williams, the judge addressed me, you're seeking a restraining order against your son, Devin Williams, on what grounds? Harassment, threats, and destruction of property, Your Honor, Omar replied. Since being legally evicted from Miss Williams' residence, Mr. Williams has engaged in an escalating pattern of threatening behavior. The judge turned to Devin and his court-appointed attorney. And how do you respond to these allegations, Mr. Williams? My client acknowledges some emotional outbursts, his attorney stated, but characterizes them as family disputes rather than harassment. Family disputes don't usually involve smashing car windows, I murmured to Omar. The judge reviewed the evidence. Screenshots of threatening text messages, security camera footage of Devin trespassing on my property at night, police reports from when he broke my car window, and witness statements from neighbors Teresa and Marissa. Miss Williams, the judge asked, has your son attempted to contact you directly to resolve this matter? Yes, Your Honor, I replied. He called me repeatedly demanding I drop the eviction and let him move back in. When I refused, the harassment escalated. Teresa was called to testify next. Miss Alvarez, you were present during the initial confrontation? The judge asked. Yes, Your Honor, Teresa confirmed. Devin became extremely angry when his mother asked him to move out. He broke a vase and made threatening statements. And what happened after he left the residence? He called me that night, saying he was going to make her pay and ruin her reputation, Teresa testified. The next day, he started posting horrible things about her online, calling her workplaces and contacting her friends with false stories. After hearing all testimony, the judge granted the restraining order and ordered Devin to pay restitution for the damaged property. Outside the courtroom, Devin approached with his attorney, his expression a mixture of anger and forced contrition. Mom, this has gone too far, he began. I was upset, but I never meant for things to get this serious. Can't we just talk about this? There's nothing to discuss, Devin, I replied calmly. The court has spoken. I'm your son, he insisted. You can't just cut me off like this. I didn't cut you off, Devin. I asked you to be responsible, and you responded with threats and destruction, I explained. Those were your choices, not mine. I'm sorry, okay? His voice cracked with what might have been genuine emotion. I was wrong. I should never have called you a freeloader or treated your house like it was mine. Please, Mom, I need another chance. For a moment, I wavered. This was my child, after all. But then I remembered the shattered glass, the midnight phone calls, the fear I'd felt checking my rearview mirror for weeks. Apologies require changed behavior, Devin. Not just words when you're facing consequences, I told him. The restraining order stands. If you want to rebuild our relationship someday, it will begin with respecting this legal boundary. His face hardened. You'll regret this. Mothers are supposed to forgive. And sons are supposed to respect, I countered, walking away. Later that evening, Jack, Marissa, Omar, and even Teresa gathered at my house for dinner, the first peaceful meal I'd enjoyed in months. How are you feeling? Marissa asked as we cleaned up afterward. Lighter, I admitted. Sad, but lighter. What will you do now? Jack asked. I'm enrolling in that master's program I put off when Devin started college, I said. And I've been approved to foster children in need of emergency placement. That's amazing, Kalia, Teresa said. You have so much love to give. I do, I agreed. But I've learned it has to be received with respect. As my friends left that evening, I stood in my doorway, in my house, purchased with my hard work, and felt a question forming in my mind. Why had I waited so long to demand the respect I deserved?